Are you all business and society students of one kind or another? Yes, good. How many of you are first years? Okay, then excellent, because this day is really more for you than for anybody else. And we are going to introduce you to various people and ideas and try to give you more of a grasp than you probably have about what the hell this program is about and how to negotiate your way through it, and more importantly, what it is not about. And we have members of our student club here, two there who are, I would say, the, is it fair to call you the driving forces of our student club? Looking very uncertain about that, but one of them smiling, so yes, obviously you are. And more of them later as well, you'll get introduced. If I get one of those nice green bags as well at the end of this day, I would be rather happy, but if I'm not allowed to have them. Also to execs, okay, excellent, okay. Nice to meet you for the first time, I believe. The first part of the morning is going to be an introduction by the Master of Vanier College, Professor Stan Twyman, because the college can actually offer you an enormous amount which very often students don't make use of. And that's just a resource you have which you may use, you should use, and if you don't, it will probably be your loss. After Stan has told you about the college, we will hopefully have someone from the college council to talk to you about some of the activities of the college. I suggest any time you have questions, put up your hand and ask whoever's speaking what is on your mind. After that, I will start telling you a few basics about the program, things that people often get confused about and get wrong and get worried about, and hopefully that will obviate your confusion and any mistakes that you might otherwise make during your path through this degree. Some of my colleagues are going to turn up at about 10:45 and then we'll introduce them. We are very fortunate to have an ex-student, Raphael, who survived the program and graduated and has a life afterwards, which something I'm looking forward to one day, life after business and society. And then we are going to go into lunch and sit at tables, hopefully with mixing younger students with older students and very old students like me, and just talking about whatever is on your mind in a very informal way, just to get to know each other and to ask any more specific questions that haven't arisen during the day so far. Any ideas of yours for additional things you would like to add to that, please let us know along the way. I will now have a hand over to Stan. Thank you very much for being here and organizing this with us, Stan.
I'll use this just so I don't have to shout. So welcome to Vanier College, and I serve as the master of the college. One of the people who works in the master's office is Antoinette, she's also my bodyguard. And the person moving down now, her name is Yvonne Chu, and she's the admin assistant at Vanier College. And we have other people who work with us. Sonia Agostini was here before but left to go upstairs, and so on and so forth. So what I'd like to tell you is that our desire is to have the students in programs that are connected to Vanier College get more involved in Vanier College. Okay, and it turns out that we have a lot to offer you, and I don't say that because I'm the master of the college, but in fact we do have a lot to offer. For example, the room you're in, which is called the Renaissance Room, normally, if we weren't in here talking and so on, this room is open to students from 9 in the morning till 6 at night. And you're welcome to come in and do your work. We have some places to plug in computers. Wi-Fi is all over this place. And we have 2 microwaves in the kitchen. You could heat your lunch, and you can just sit and relax or talk quietly to friends and so on and so forth. So, I mean, just that I think is a benefit. When I was a student 100 years ago, Student space and student, this thing is driving me crazy. Let me just turn that away. When I was a student, there was no student space at all. I went to the University of Toronto, and the only student space there was for men, males, was Hart House, and for women, something called the Women's Athletic Building, which is now something. It's not that anymore. And I used to have to try to scheme, where was I going to go to be able to do work during the day? Because the libraries were full, and you just needed a place to park yourself. And so what I did was I used to go into classrooms, and then an hour later, there was a class in there, so they kicked me out, and then I have to go to another classroom, and so on and so forth. So one of the nice things about this is nobody's going to kick you out. And before exam time, it's even better because we often keep the place open till 9 o'clock at night. So you could come in whenever you want and stay till the evening. So anyway, that's that. But there are other things that you can do within the college setting. We have many clubs that originate here, and you're welcome to find out about those. I don't know, Antoinette, did we bring the brochure, the Vanier brochure down with all the, okay, so that you would learn a lot about the college itself. The nice thing about this is that we want you. So it's a friendly environment, and we want you to get involved in the college to the extent that you are able to do so. I might point something out to you that might have been pointed out to you earlier, which is study after study after study has shown that students who, in addition to their studies, do some extracurricular activities, in general do better than students who just study. Now, to me, that's kind of counterintuitive. You'd think that the bookworm, the person who just sits there and does their essays and so on, will actually do better. I was more that type. But on the other hand, statistics show that that's not correct. That in fact, students who participate in other activities, not excessively, not to the detriment of your studies, but that you're much better off than that. But one other thing that I want to mention, or maybe a couple of other things, is Vanier College Productions, which is a theater group, student-run, that's in its 44th year at Vanier College. And it takes students from all over the university. You don't have to be in LANPS, you don't have to be this, you don't have to be that. You just have to be a student at York. And if you're not interested in acting, there are other roles for you. For example, directing, set design, stage direction, taking tickets, and so on and so forth. So I won't go into the details now, but this year we have an incredible 110 students from across the university who have signed up to be part of Vanier College Productions. And again, they're not all from LANPS. And so if you're interested in that sort of thing, if you come to the master's office, we'll guide you to the appropriate people who can help you. Is that okay? So I could talk more, but I think I'd like, if you have any questions, I'm happy to try to answer your questions for you. Anything at all? No? Got to ask me something. Where do I live? How old am I? Anything like that? No? Oh, hi.
What other, are there specific academic services that Vanier provides? Like, I know that Sparkboard, the Writing Center, has certain essay writing. Is there any that you can also get?
Absolutely. We have, this function used to be called the College Academic Advisor. And at certain times of the year, students would actually line up outside her door. This is Maxine. Would line up outside her door because they needed assistance with their studies or their lives. We don't call them that anymore. The dean has decided that we would call them College Academic Life Coordinators. And we have a College Academic Life Coordinator. She's on the second floor of Vanier College. Her name is Janice Newton. She's very smart, very knowledgeable, and has won almost every teaching award that the university and the country provides. So if you have specific questions or just want to chat with somebody, she would be an ideal person to speak with. And another point in terms of advising is, again, survey after survey after survey has revealed that many students feel more comfortable speaking to another student about their problems, at least in the first instance, than they do to a faculty member or a professional advisor. And we have picked up on this, and as a result of that, we have peer advisors. And the peer advising office is on the first floor. So when you walk into Vanier, on the right, the first office you see is the peer advising office. We have approximately 40 peer advisors. So they're not all bunched into this one office at one time, but their services have been distributed across the week, morning, afternoon, and early evening. And you are welcome to drop in and speak to an advisor, a peer advisor. And I mean, they're not going to sit down and tell you how many more courses you need in economics in order to graduate. That's not their job. If that's the problem you have, you should really go to the department or the registrar's office or to people like Mark, and they'll fix you up. But on the other hand, students have many other issues, such as funding, dropping courses, picking up courses, and harassment and things of that sort. So these students are the first line to assist you. So they're all highly successful upper-level students, right? So there are no first-year students in that role. And what they can do for you is A, listen to you, and B, try to direct you where you should go for assistance, which may be to Janice Newton, our college academic life coordinator, or to me, or to other services on the campus. But what I would say to you is that if you have a problem, or if you begin to have a problem, you really shouldn't leave it. You should try to address it. And these are the people, the peer advisors, the college academic life coordinator, the master of the college. We can try to help you and at a minimum direct you to places where you could get help. And I'd like to say one other thing to our, actually two things, to our students here. This pertains mostly to first-year students, but I think I wish somebody had told me what I'm about to tell you when I entered university. In fact, by the way, I attended the University of Toronto, and although I lived near the University of Toronto, I lived on Kensington Avenue, which is just south of the university. I had never been on the campus, ever. So I had walked by it, I had taken the streetcar by it, and so on and so forth, but I had never been on the campus. And I got my acceptance to the university, and nobody said there's an orientation. There was nothing at all. All they did was they sent me a calendar. And the calendar was very simple then in first year. There were a number of categories of courses. So there was social science, humanities, science, language, and that sort of thing. You had to pick one from there, one from there, one from there, one from there, and they gave you one choice, one elective out of the 5, and that was it. And then when I got to the campus, I then had to figure out where the room was, of course, which took me longer than I expected because I hadn't realized how big the campus is. Anyway, we have orientations now, as I'm sure all of you know, but there are two things I would like to tell you. I held up one finger for two things, but anyway, there are two things that I'd like to tell you about the university year. Some of you may have experienced this already, but in any case, I wish somebody had told these things to me to help me. So number one, if you were to ask me, as people do, so I've been at York University for 47 years, okay, for 47 years. And I took 12 years to study philosophy at the University of Toronto, which makes me 115. But the fact of the matter is that I've been in the university setting for most of my life. And if people ask me, what is it about the university that most surprises you? Like, of all the things that you've experienced as a student, as an academic, as a professor, as a colleague, what is it that most surprises you about the university? And you know what it is? And by the way, this has never changed. It has never varied in all those years, right? So in 59 years, not anything about what I'm about to tell you has changed. So what most impresses me about the university? The shortness of the year, the brevity of the academic year. I couldn't believe it, because when you're in high school, you start in September, you end in June, and things just sort of trudge along and so on and so forth. In the university, we have 12 weeks in the first term and 13 weeks in the second term, and if you add that up, it's 25, and 25 is less than half of 52. In other words, we spend less time in this university, right, than anybody else in the world spends at their job. 25, if you're, full-time. We only spend 25 weeks a year here. And the problem with that, as I learned very quickly, the problem with that is that it's very difficult when you're studying to allow what you're studying to leaven in your brain. You don't have the luxury of saying, I'm going to think about this for a week. It's not possible. Because for one thing, you got to get that assignment finished, and you've got 4 others that have to take place. So the thing that impresses me most about the university year, the brevity of it. And, it was just Labor Day, and now we're talking about Thanksgiving, and then we'll talk about the winter break. And it's just incredible how quickly this thing goes by. And so what I would say to you is that you have to train yourself to think and act quickly. There's no choice. Graduate students can hang around for years working on an essay, and eventually they submit it and it gets accepted and so on and so forth. You don't have that luxury. And so I had to train myself to actually do that. Okay, so I think that that's extremely important for you to know that the speed of the year is absolutely crucial. The second thing that I would tell you is that you cannot succeed at this university without knowing how to write. Writing is the key component. The assumption is that everybody in this room is kind of smart. They must have gotten the grades to get here. So this is, I'll just let it ring. The fact of the matter is that, so again, a story about myself. When I attended high school, I attended an excellent high school called Harvard Collegiate, which on Harvard Avenue, and it was one of the best schools in the city at the time. And it turns out that in all 5 years that I attended Harvard Collegiate, because you matriculated after 5 years, not after 4 or 3, when I went to Harvard Collegiate, there were no essays in any of my courses. Not one essay did I have to do in high school. Not one. All we did was tests, right? And math, there was math assignments, and in history, we had tests and blah, blah, blah. So it turns out that when I got to university, I hadn't a clue how to write an essay. And my first assignment in university was an essay. And it was an essay in political science on, does the Canadian Senate need to be reformed? That was the question. And I must admit to you that I didn't know that we had a Senate. So that was a kind of a problem. I knew the Americans had a Senate, but I had never heard of the Canadian Senate. And so I thought, well, I got to do this, so I did it. And I wrote an essay, got the books, wrote an essay, and I got a D+. And I thought, this is the end of my career, because I don't know what I'm doing. By the way, I thought the D+ was generous, in fact. And I thought, this is the end of my career unless I can figure out how to write. So I made an appointment with a professor who was a very striking man. And he was happy to meet with me, and I went into his office. And as professors did in those years, the first thing he did was light up a cigarette and sit back in his chair. And, after he dragged on the cigarette, he asked me, what was the problem? What did I want to talk about? And I said, well, I got a D+ in my essay, and I'm not challenging that. I just want to know what I can do about it. And you know what his answer was? I don't know. He said, I don't know if writing can be taught, and I don't know how to teach it. And I thought, holy moly, like here I am. I'm here for help. And this guy, other than smoking a cigarette, is not going to be able to help me at all. So we exchanged pleasantries after that, and I was about to leave with nothing. And as I'm walking out the door, he said one thing to me, which actually changed my life. So I'll tell you what happened, and this actually changed my life. So remember, this is a man who said he doesn't think writing can be taught, and even if it can, he's not the guy to do it. And furthermore, there was no writing center, there was no writing department, there was nothing. So as I'm walking out the door, he said, you know what you might do? And I said, what's that? He said, well, why don't you go to the library, which I had already done anyway, and go to journals and look up journals, in his case, in political science. And he pointed out to me that all of these journals, the articles in them are refereed. And he said, you could study those articles not for their content, but for how they were done, right? How did the person who wrote the article present it? What was the background that they offered? What were the mechanics of it, and so on and so forth? How did they use secondary sources and all of that? And that sort of a light went off in my brain, and I thought, well, it's better than nothing. And as soon as I left his office, I went to the library, and I did exactly as he said, and I studied. And I must say, for me, I'm not saying this would work for you, for me, this worked. I learned how to write by reading the writings of professional political scientists, philosophers, and so on. And I never got less than an A after that. And now I think if we broadcast this about the writing department, that all you have to do is read 3 journals and so on, I don't think that would help them any. And it's not always the same way. But anyway, I thought I'd recount that story to you, and just to point out that if you can't write, you can't win. So you should work as hard as you can to learn how to write. And I think there are a lot of aspects of writing which are very important, such as style. I think a lot of students, a lot of essays that I read, students don't pay attention to style or don't pay enough attention to style. The way you write is as important to your essay as what you write, because people want to enjoy reading it. And as a result of that, I think that you have to develop your own style, which, by the way, I am still doing over the years. I'm still learning how to write my stuff. But anyway, so I think that tells you a bit about me, a bit about the college. I hope that you will spend time at Vanier College. I want to thank Mark for his joining with us to get BUSO connected with Vanier College. We have, over the years, dreamt of having the mandated areas connected to the college in more than a nominal way. And I think it's a tribute to Mark and to Janice Newton and other people for trying to bring all of that together. And I hope that we'll have many events together. And I invite you, by the way, to all of our professional talks that we present and all the workshops that we present. You're always welcome to come to Vanier. So thank you very much and have a great day. And I'll pass it back to Mark.
Thank you, Stan. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I couldn't have done that.
When I'm 150, I won't be able to do it either, Stan. But I've got my own microphone somewhere here, so you can take that home with you if you want. And thank you very much. I'll add a couple of things to what Stan said. Some very interesting remarks there. With regard to the college in this room and your lives as students, yes, there are spaces for you here to do work at odd hours if you wish. but also just hanging around with each other. You know, not coming onto campus for a lecture and disappearing at 12:30 when teaching is over. You know, that's going to make your lives immeasurably richer, because you know, you're going to learn more from each other than you're going to learn from people like me. So you're the biggest resource, and you need space for that. Use this room or other rooms in colleges or on the campus just for sort of getting together, chatting about anything. If it's coursework, fine. If it's not, then about something else. I want to ask you a few things first today, and then to say a few things about the program. I've got a wonderful group of 4 colleagues over there who've arrived, and I know at least one of them has to get away rather quickly because he's a very important man. So I would like them to introduce themselves, the 3 of us, the 3 of you, and first let me introduce you to the most important person in our program, Business and Society, namely our program assistant, Josephine D'Souza. Would you just quickly stand up, Josephine? Yes. And many of you will have had doings with her already, and she is an asset that I cannot convey the value of her for the program in the way that she takes care of individual students, rescues them very often, persuades me to give them substitutions, which I really shouldn't do, and things like that. She is an amazing resource for the program. You will probably have on our website, I was going to, let's put this one back here, see if we're still connected. And under contact on, if you just put BUSO into the York search engine, you get to this page, and under contact, those Josephine's contact details there, my contact details there. You can email either of us or both of us is probably better. If you have any problems of any kind, we are there for you. Josephine slightly more often than I, because I'm such a lazy bugger. But if you write me an email, I will get back to you promptly. The office number, is it up here? Mine's 767, Josephine's is 773. There we are on the 7th floor. Please use us as resources, and we will guarantee that we get back to you promptly and do our best for you. One note about writing emails: if you write an email to anyone at York in an official capacity, please put your student number and your name. But if York's records go back into the 1990s, the computerized records, if you just give a name like Mark Peacock, you will actually find in the system there are about 400 Mark Peacocks. We don't know which one you are, and so a number will actually, your 9-digit student number will identify you uniquely. Please always give that in every piece of correspondence to someone official at York. So I will introduce, or I'd like you to introduce yourselves, please, the 3 of you, my colleagues in the program. Why don't we start with Professor J.J. McMurtry, because I know he has to get off, and because we're being filmed today, I think it might be nice if you come forward and get your fizzog on the camera, and this might be the only time in your life.
Hi everybody, I'm J.J. McMurtry. I'm currently the chair of social science, a former coordinator of BUSO, and I teach mainly in the social economy stream. And I just wanted to come by and say hello to all of you, and hopefully our paths will cross one way or the other over the next little bit. And please use me as a resource, as I think all of our faculty are for you as BUSO students throughout the time here. So I look forward to chatting with you all sometime soon. I'm walking off today.
Okay, why do we take you in alphabetical order? So Caroline, Hossein.
Okay, so hello, I'm Caroline Hussein. I'm pretty new at York, and so like you, so welcome. I teach issues in business and society, and I'm just teaching a course that's new for me this year called the Social Economy Practicum, where we're placing students in organizations around the city. It's pretty interesting. You can do it in your 4th year. If your grades are up to a certain level, welcome you. It'll be a fun course to take. So welcome. I'm teaching social economy stream, so I'll see some of you later.
And Sonia Scott, please.
So my name is Sonia. So my name is Sonia. I teach in the law and governance stream. So if you're interested in economics of law or business law or governance issues in your second or fourth years, you may end up in my classrooms. So I think it's interesting and fun and useful to know. So I hope that, join me, join the law and governance stream.
Thank you, Sonia. So I believe that Sonia and Caroline will be hanging around for a while. I hope anyway, maybe into lunch you can get to know them better there. Let me start with a couple of things that Stan said, just to pick up on those. One is about writing. There's this immensely peculiar form of writing that is really only used in academia these days. It's called the essay. And you will be required to write lots of them during your time here. And it's not the most straightforward thing in the world. There is a particular style and there is a particular way of writing. Just to remind you what Stan said, that his way of learning these things was through reading the journals, professionals writing these things. You can try that if you want, and you will be reading professional people in your courses anyway, and make a note of what they write, but also how they write. Two pieces of advice I want to give you is, one, if your essay, when you're submitting an assignment, if it sounds like one of your text messages, you are doing something wrong, very badly wrong, okay? It really is a completely different style, and it's quite extraordinary how colloquial and informal student essays can sometimes sound compared to how experienced academics sound and how you should be sounding by about your fourth year at least. The other thing, I don't usually give one recommendation for your entire life with regard to writing, but my tip, this is the book that changed my life, just like Stan was saying that his life was changed by meeting with that professor at the University of Toronto. Let me see if I can find a book which I think is simply the greatest guide to writing by a journalist, by the way. And I always spell his name wrong. I think it's 2 S's, 1 N. And let's try this one here. That's the one in York's library, On Writing Well. And I wouldn't even read the whole thing. I've never read the whole thing. I've read 2 chapters. There's probably about 10 or 15 pages. Write that book down for your future reference in everything that you write. Bear in mind 2 things which he writes, chapters 2 and 3. One is on simplicity. Keep it simple. Don't ever try to write complex things. You're just going to confuse the reader. And the reader always has 1,000 other things to read which are more interesting. Don't tax your reader. Make it as simple and as clear as possible. He gives some wonderful example. He was a New York Times journalist, by the way. And the other one, which is one of my favorite topics, I often teach it in lectures, a chapter called Clutter. Most of us, unless we're extremely strict with ourselves, write many too many words in every sentence to express every idea. And William Zinsser's advice is that once you have a draft of a journalistic article for a newspaper or a student essay, you can very easily edit it and get it down to half its length, just crossing out things which are not necessary. Rewriting sentences in a more elegant, simple way. Then, he says, once you've done that, once you've got your first draft down to 50% of its original length, the real work, and that's the hard work, is that you can get that second draft, which is 50% of the original length, you can get that down by half once again. So your final version is actually 25% of what you originally wrote. It's very easy to get it down to half the length, and if I ever grade your papers in subsequent years, I will be doing this and writing the word clutter in the margin quite often. I do it with my own work. First drafts are always terrible. Second, third, fourth, fifth drafts are usually pretty bad. 14th, 15th, 16th drafts can actually be quite good if you keep on working at it. So when you've got something on paper, don't think, okay, I've done my assignment, that's it. You've only just begun your assignment, and as Stan said, you will have lots of assignments coming together, so plan these, do them in advance, so that by the time you finish a final version, you will have maybe your 10th, perhaps even your 20th draft you're working on, and then you can submit it, and it might be reasonable. Writing is difficult. Some people find it easy. I've never met someone like that, but I'm sure there are people who just write, and whatever they write is pretty damn good. So, what I would like to do now, before I give a few introductions to the program, is to find out a bit more about you and why you are here in business and society. And I don't mind taking the upper level students as well as the younger ones amongst you. I'm genuinely interested in why you are here doing business in society. What attracted you to this program? So why doesn't one of you start, and we'll hear from others once one brave person has broken the ice. Pisai, yes please, go on then.
Hi everyone, my name is Pisai, and I'm in fourth year. I'm in my last year in business and society, and my stream is social economy, and the other one is professional, educational, and social change. And yes, I take this business, BUSO business and society because like first year I was undecided major, and then I took elective course in social science, and then I fell in love with I want to study about social issues. So that's why I look at the course and see that business and society is like one of my can be one of my choice, so I take it, and then I fell in love with more with in social economy. It's even further for me, like I want to learn more about the sector. So yes, I think that's why I take this into study.
Okay, what about one of you newer students, please? One of the newer students, why you've taken this program? What actually brought you here? It's like explaining to the person you love, why do you love this person and not someone else? It's, it's the same with your academic work. There can be a passion towards it. Why business and society and not political science? Why not economics? Or you're here and not somewhere else. Why? Go ahead, yeah, please.
Oh, sorry, I don't talk to me. Yeah. My name is Adam. I'm a fourth year student in the BUSO program. Personally, I chose business and society out of all programs because at first, when I first enrolled in school in university, I wanted to do accounting, but then I learned what accounting is about, and well, I'm a fan of business, and I learned what accounting is about. I felt like BUSO is a business course that allows me to use my writing skills and get more involved in the political side of business rather than the number side or the number crunching side. Yeah, I feel like it's a great program so far. My streams are ethics and CSR, so ethics and law and governance, and it's been a great program. I've written a lot of essays, I'll tell you that, but you'll improve your skills over the years. I was not a great writer at first, but I think I've improved a lot. Yeah, it's been good. It takes time though, so writing is not something hard. It's not something easy to do, it's not something hard. I think if you read a lot, which you will do, you'll improve, your writing will improve, and you're gonna learn a lot in 4 years of university, so, yeah.
Okay, thank you, yep, please. Are you a new student?
No, fourth year.
Okay.
I'm Apollo, fourth year. Stream is business, business ethics, and corporate analysis. So I took BUSO because it kind of looks at business from a social perspective, and I kind of like that about it. So it's one reason why I took it, and also the fact that yes, the best advice I can probably give is keep up with your readings, because yes, the school year does go by super fast, and a lot of times you find yourself maybe forgetting to read 1 week and then all of a sudden you're behind. So yeah, keep up with your readings, and yes, essays are gonna be there.
Okay, there's one thing I always tell students, not just new students, people in their third and fourth years as well, who still are hoping that Business and Society is a business program which is going to teach you the skills to do business, to get a career in business, things like teaching you strategic management or accountancy or marketing. That is not what the program is about. And if you were hoping that that's what the program was about, it is not, it will never be, and my only advice would be to get out of this program quickly. And York is very good about allowing you to change your degrees. There are plenty of opportunities for studying business in different parts of York, different departments, but not ours. So that is something you really should bear in mind, that we are not the Schulich School of Business, and we will not teach you those things which they teach you. We do something completely different. We look at, I think it's quite well put by Apollo, looking at business from a social perspective, looking at its impact on society, different sectors of society, asking whether that impact is a good one or a bad one. Most of us in the program, you will probably notice through the years or very quickly, are very critical of mainstream corporate business. So we will also be teaching you about alternatives to business in its corporate profit-making sense. Plenty of opportunities for that. So thank you for those comments. Just a few basics about the program for new people. Let me start on this, our BUSO website, with our streams. And our streams, let me go back to the home of BUSO. If you are a new student coming in this year, those 6 streams are the ones available to you, and you should be in 2 of them. The streams that people like Pisai and Apollo and Adam were mentioning are part of our old streams, which fell into desuetude this year. So don't get confused on this site. There are archived streams under this link to undergraduate program. You'll see the streams, and then at the bottom you get the archived streams. That's for people in higher levels who've started their degree previously. But your streams are those 6, and if you click on them, you will get the requirements. And if you're doing a 90 credit BA, you will require 12 credits in each of those streams. If you are doing an honors BA, you will be doing 18 credits in each of those streams. So there's been a lot of confusion about which system of streams applies to you. If you have come in this year, it is those streams there, the 2014 streams, and not any other streams. Okay, hopefully all of you who are our first years are in our Introduction to Business and Society program, or course, I mean. Everyone in that course who, good, because some didn't make it and we've had to make some emergency measures there. If you're in that course, that's an excellent thing. We recommend very strongly that you take our courses roughly in the order according to their course level. So 1,000 level first, then 2,000 level, 3,000 level. There are opportunities to change that. Sometimes you get students coming in and doing a 3,000 level course and then going back and doing a 1,000 level course in year 4 or something. Not the best way to do that. Our courses are relatively accumulative. They build on one another. So start with the lowest number first and work up. They will become more difficult as well as you work up. So you need those first courses in order to jump up to those and manage those higher level courses. A number of things that you might not know about, which we offer in the program or in conjunction with other units at York. In particular, an internship program which is run by the Careers Center. And if you look on the Careers Center's homepage, let me try and get that for you, then let me go back to York U and put in Careers Center. And you will find on this link for future reference, at least there used to be, co-op and internships, and there's the Business and Public Administration Internship Program. These are available to you as business and society students once you've done a certain amount of credits in your third year. These are paid internships. You have to apply like you're applying for a job with the Careers Center, and they will try to match you with an employer. You will have a break in your studies and work full-time with what they claim is relatively market rate pay for 4, 8, 12, 16 months of your choice. Plan these things right from year one. Work experience is absolutely essential for your futures. We offer a certain amount of things in courses, which we call experiential education, about bringing people from workplaces and outside York into the classroom to tell you about the real world. But these things are going to improve your CVs and your ability to command jobs when you leave. Start planning now. Do you think that's something for you? When might I be able to take a break from my studies? Should I do it one summer for 4 months? Should I take a whole year out, try to work 12 months, which might extend my degree for 5 years? Don't be in a hurry to finish these degrees. It won't improve your performance, and getting onto the job market quicker rather than slower is probably not going to be of any advantage to you in the long term. So, yes, question?
Can you do these internships after your 4 years of school, or you have to be a third year student?
You would have to ask the coordinator, so at the moment me, that. I would let anyone do that, certainly. If you, Pisai, do you know the answer to that better than I?
You have to, your credit have to be 60 credit in order to apply for that, and then you cannot do internship after you graduate. So you have to be 9 credit. I believe 9 credit left in order to do internship. Okay.
So once you, yeah, if you've graduated, that's it, and there's no coming back, as it were. If you want to do an internship for a year and leave 6 credits or something for the summer after you've done your internship, and you do a 5th year, so you do 12 months or 8 months or something like that in the internship, come back and do a summer course, finish off your credits, that will be fine if you've only got a handful of credits left. But once you've graduated, you are worse than dead at York. It's, you're just no longer part of the system, and there's one dead person there, you see already yawning. And that is, graduation is the end unless you come back for another course of study. So that is one opportunity. There are many others we'll tell you about along the way. If you are, let's go back to our homepage, if you want to change your stream, it's very easy to do so. You just go onto the registrar's website, and there's a form there online. Anytime you can change your stream if you think you want a new one. You will have to start from the beginning of each stream. If you start a stream in your 3rd year, go back to the 1st year courses in that stream, but many, many people do that. If you want to change your degree, you can do that. Not that we want to get rid of you, but if you think that BUSO is not for you, it's very easy to change your major online. So don't hesitate to do that, or come and see us and get advice about what is right for you and what is not right for you. If BUSO is not right for you, that's absolutely fine, and it's better to make an informed opinion about that and an informed judgment and then change your stream, rather than stay here for 4 years and at the end of those 4 years thinking, why the hell did I do this? What have I learned? It really wasn't what I was expecting. So people do that in our program quite often. I'm surprised, but don't let that happen to you. If you decide to stay with us, which we hope you do, I want to pick up on one thing that Stan said about getting involved with the college life. When you get involved in wider life at York, not just your individual studies, so be it our student club, another student club of some kind, there are many of them at York, college productions, college sports teams, whatever, that kind of engagement, again, is going to be invaluable for you when you're applying for a job. So I often write references for students, some of whom have very good grades, but what I can write about them is often very little because the employer will see the student's transcript, see the grades. I shouldn't repeat that in my reference. If I know a student personally, because they've been involved in the student club or something like that, I can write a much more personal reference about this student. That's going to help you enormously. So the club is one avenue of activities which will allow you to flourish beyond simply studying here. And I'm going to hand over to the club in a moment to say a bit about themselves and what they can offer you as well as what you can offer them. That's going to make the difference between you and probably 90% of other students in this program who, perhaps through bad luck, have to work, perhaps full-time to finance their studies, so they don't get any time for extracurricular work. They hardly get time to study, or even if they're only working part-time. So try to get involved in York life, become a citizen of York rather than just a student of York, and that will redound to your benefit more than anything else, but also to the university's benefit. Rita, I wanted to hand over to you now, having just mentioned the club, or Pisai, or any of the other club members who are around today. But let's start with our president, the most dynamic person in business and society. And, well, for the moment, yes. And Rita is our club president, and she is now in her 5th year. So, she can tell you a lot about the program as well as about the club. She is an old hand. Why don't you just give an introduction to the club, perhaps to the members as well, and tell some people what they can gain and do if they get involved with the club.
Hi guys, I'm the president of the Business Society Student Club. I have some exec members here. I'm just going to ask them to stand up. I have Matthew, our finance director. I have Hugo, our counselor, and Pisai in the back, who is our VP of operations. So thank you guys for coming. If you haven't signed up for a membership, I encourage you to do so. There's a lot of things that we do at our club. We are technically this is our first year for our club to be ratified. Now, I want to thank you all for coming here. I know it's morning time, but there's a lot of great opportunities for the department and to be part of our club. So just a little brief bit about our club. We are providing a lot of opportunities for students. For one thing, for you first-year students, we have an opportunity board in our office that has scholarships, opportunities such as co-ops, volunteers. I actually spoke to a small business owner that wants volunteers for students to be part of a fashion club or their small business, and it may lead to part-time, full-time. So I encourage you guys, if you are looking for something like that, stop by our office or email us. If you're 3rd or 4th year, there's actually 2 scholarships that the BUSO program offers. So I suggest either you can email us about details or email the department about that. Because as a student, money is everything, right? So, what else about our club? We have a bake sale coming up on the 15th. We're going to have a lot of career-related and social events. We're hoping to have our first icebreaker around the 23rd of October, I believe, and a guest speaker from Ontario Co-op coming in. So it will be on our website and our Facebook page. Please just go to Business Society on Facebook, and there should be a little page, you just like it, and then we'll have events and everything. So, and if you're not getting our emails, please email us, because sometimes when it comes to handwritings, we can't read it, and then we can't send you emails, and you know what? We don't want that to happen. Let's see what else I can talk about the club. Yes, if you have any questions or any concerns, we are also collaborating with Vanier, actually. Vanier is hosting and BUSO plans, and we try to advertise these events to students. If you have questions about upcoming workshops that Vanier and BUSO will be having, please feel free to email us. If you want to be a peer mentor I know that we have a couple of senior students, third and fourth year students, and who wants to be peer mentors. Please contact us for details. So then you can be a peer mentor and get those hours for your transcripts. For first year students, please let us know if you have any questions or if you have any ideas for events, or if there's something that you want from the club or department. Please let us know as well. The thing about our club, we're here to offer you the services that you cannot normally find from the department itself. So we want to provide any of those kind of opportunities for you, because as whether you're a first or fourth year student, you know, if you're still trying to find your way after you graduate, this is what we're here for. So I thank you guys again for coming out, and I think I'm done my spiel. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rita. A couple of things that Rita said I want to underscore. Our scholarships actually available to honours students in their fourth year. Again, something from your very first year you should be having an eye on. What's available in the program? Why shouldn't I apply for that when I'm a fourth year and win our social economy award, as Rita did, and made her a fantastically wealthy young lady? It did, didn't it? $2,500 for a program award is actually as generous as it ever gets at York, and that's thanks to a very generous donation by the Alterna Credit Union. You'll have passed it in York lanes many times. It is not a bank, it is far more than that, and much more ethical than a normal privately owned bank. So change your bank accounts to that one if you want to do the world a favor. Yes, go on.
We're actually partnered with Alterna Savings. If you do open a personal bank account, you get $50 into your bank, $50 to, I think, the children organization, or it could be part of our business and society club, because we kind of need funding, so it's up to you. And like Mark said, Alterna Savings isn't any other bank, it's a cooperative, and I know you may not be unfamiliar with this term. Later on, our club is going to be hosting events talking about what cooperatives are, so you guys can understand what are these businesses, you know, what makes them different and what makes them special. So stay tuned.
Thank you. So Rita, if you that's the $50 is for business and society students, for all York students, or
It's $50 in your personal account, and
if you're business and society, or
if you want to support our club, then you can also. It's a two-part thing. So you guys get $50 regardless, and because Alterna Savings is a cooperative, they contribute to the community. So they put $50 in you, and $50 they donate to organizations. And one of those organizations can be the club. Just nudge nudge if you guys are interested. But
okay, thanks for that. The other thing connected to what Stan was saying as well. There are many sites of advice at York available to you students, probably too many. So you can go to the registrar, you can go to advising in the faculty, that place that always has a queue outside at 103 Central Square, the peer mentoring system here, club members. If your advice or if your question concerns a program matter in business and society, please do not accept anyone's advice apart from Josephine's, who always gets it right, and mine, I mainly get it right with a few blunders here and there. If you go to the registrar, very often you will get program advice from previous years because they haven't updated their websites. Faculty advising as well. Ask them about faculty courses, general education, electives and things like that, but not about program matters. If it's to do with your major, one of the streams, or your requirements in the core, come to us, please. And nobody else's word, I'm afraid, is good apart from ours. Yes, Apollo.
Just had a question. Throughout the years, I noticed that we don't have degree progress reports. So Josephine has been great in regards to helping me, of course, I just take. Is that something that is being worked on, or is that something that BUSO can get? Even though we have so many streams?
Okay, the question is, yeah, there are still degree progress reports, and what they are, and this is a voluntary thing for you, I advise you to do this at the end of every year before you start enrolling in courses for next year. Come to see Josephine or come to see me, and ask us to audit your degree. And we will get a sheet of paper and give you a copy, and it will have the requirements for you in your streams. And we will fill in the courses that you've done and show you the courses that you need to get. Don't do what some students do. They get to the end of their third year or their fourth year, they think they've completed their degree, and we tell them, you haven't done your compulsory statistics course or something like that. So you have to come back in the summer and do a stats course. Or you haven't done 18 credits at the 3000 level. If you're doing a 3-year degree, you need a minimum of 18 credits at the 3000 level, otherwise the registrar will just throw your application to graduate back to you. If you are doing a 4-year degree, an honors degree, you need 18 credits at the 3000 level, 18 at the 4000 level. No one can change those things, not even God. So don't, get caught out. Come and see us, and we will do an audit on your file, and we will tell you, this is what you've done, this is what you need to do. You need to enroll in these courses next year. So if you haven't done that, Apollo, you're in your 4th year, I presume, aren't you? So you're, okay, good. So, but you should be doing that, I think, every April or May, when you've got to the end of your full year courses. What should I be doing next year? And before the enrollment season opens in June, just come and see us to make sure you are still on the right track. How many electives do I need? How many have I got? We can advise you on that, but really that's for 103 Central Square, the faculty advising. So if it's general education or electives, go to them, please. If it's part of your major, come to us, and that's a pretty strict division of labor. Now I've mentioned it, I'll mention it again then, the statistics course. 3 credits, many of you will have done this. Did any of you find it the slightest bit difficult?
It required a lot of reading outside of class.
Okay, that's interesting to hear. I mean, I don't know of many people who have failed this course. I know of hundreds of students who are absolutely terrified about it and think that their life will end because they will fail it, and they just can't cope with anything mathematical. Math 1532 is the course. It's specially designed for business and society students. It is extremely easy. I think, over 5 or so years of its existence, I think 1 or 2 people might have failed it, but it's very rare. Get it out of the way early, 1st year, latest 2nd year, and you're done with it. It's not terribly scary. Likewise, I think with the economics courses, but I think people fail slightly more often, those 1st year economics courses. If you failed, you can come and see Josephine or me. We might be able to give you a substitution, but don't be frightened by them. Okay, so any more questions from you before we move on? Of the upper level students amongst you, are any of you also mentors as well as club members, or have you actually got a list of mentors, or is the college doing that?
At the moment, when it comes to peer mentors, to be an official peer mentor, you have to do training with Vanier. So you have to talk to them about that. But at the moment, we are just having informal peer-to-peer talk.
Right, okay. So with mentoring, again, a wonderful thing on your CV with training. Also, because it's a volunteer position, you can accumulate volunteer hours, and that will appear on your student transcript if you do that, apparently, when you leave York. Another great opportunity. So before we sort of gather around in smaller groups and things like that, Raphael is our survivor. He has been and gone from business and society. As you see, he survives. By the way, every graduate in business and society, when they leave, has a beard. Whether male or female, it just happens to everyone. So don't be alarmed about that. And if you find one appearing after graduation, that's just part of being in the program, having a beard when you leave. Do you want to say a couple of things, Raphael? And Raphael's going to hang around and talk to you individually as well if you want later. But a couple of impressions of 4 years of business and society and what it meant.
All right, guys. So I'm Raphael Demondo. I did survive. It is possible. It can be done. Basically, a lot of it has been touched on. Very integral, and I want to, just so I don't forget this, the book that Professor Peacock mentioned, On Writing Well, read that book. Because if you do not know how to write, and I know the professors here, some of them will tell you this, you will not get the grades that you need to exit this program, to graduate from this program. Okay? And they're looking at me now because they've marked my assignments. I am still, to this day, editing my undergraduate thesis. Okay? It's not done. And I handed it in, I got a mark for it, but it's not finished. So that is the degree to which you need to know how to write. In terms of the programs, the courses, and all of those things, sit in the front of the class. Do not be distracted by Facebook and Twitter and whatever else you guys are using while you're sitting in your class. Shut your phones off. 90% of what you learn from your professors will be in that lecture. Okay? So be there as much as you can and make sure that you are not distracted by the people sitting around you. And it will happen. Other than that, Josephine is very important to your success here, especially if you have any questions about the courses. That's true. You have to go see her. All right? Extracurricular activity. I founded and was the president of a student group here. I did participate on and off with the BUSO club. That will assist you. Sitting down with other students and talking about what you're learning in class will assist you the most. The stuff that got me the angriest were the essays I did the best on. And we got into conversations in class and outside of class about those topics. Your peers are very integral to your learning. They will support you and they will knock you down and you will have to build yourself back up. And that's the way that you will succeed here. And I'm seeing nods because the upper year students know that. They've gotten into debates in classes. All right? What else were we talking about before?
Anything you like that you think would be
all right.
relevant? But
the influence of the college has changed since I started here. So I did come to Vanier for a few things. It's more embedded now, I think, than it has been before. And they can support you. There are scholarships available on that end, right? You will bump into other students from other programs while you're here, especially in, not this because this is a BUSO event, but college-wide events, you will get those opinions, right? Depending on what stream you're in, there are certain books, and your professors will tell you this, there are certain books, you need to know the content of these books. For instance, if you're in law and governance and business ethics, which I was in, right? There are 3 integral books. You need to know The Wealth of Nations. You need to know who wrote it, when he wrote it, why he wrote it. You need to know Das Kapital. You need to know when it was written, why it was written, and the content of it. And you need to know The Great Transformation. You need to know these books. I cannot stress that enough. Okay? Especially the Great Transformation, Karl Polanyi. That fixes into every single one of the topics and streams here. All right? Those books, again, who wrote them, why they wrote them, and their content. The social environment, the political environment, and everything around those books is very important to these courses. And I have literally written essays. I don't even know how many essays I've written that don't have those 3 books cited in them. My thesis and many courses, and many of the essays that I wrote for other courses have those 3 books cited. They're very important. Get to know them. I'm not saying you have to read it from cover to cover, but these need to be in your mind at all times. The ideas revolving around works like these, major works, need to be in your mind, right? And in between the years, the summers, stuff like this, right? You will, if you're not careful, you will brain drain yourself. So you will come back and you will forget the things that you've learned. It will happen. So refresh yourself. Read essays that you've written. It takes you half an hour to read an essay, an hour to read an essay that you've written. Keep this in mind, right? Talk to other students, your friends from here. York is very much a commuter school. That's just the nature of the school. So the people who are in your classes, you will need to contact them outside of class, and you have to build a relationship with your peers. You won't like everybody. I am not an easy guy to get along with. But I have friends still who go here and friends from here. Okay? It's very important that you guys bounce ideas off each other and share your experiences. All right? Other than that, all I can tell you is your focus in life will change as you get more embedded in your studies. Okay? I used to frequent the pubs here at York University, whereas before I came here, I frequented the pubs away from York University. Then you have to engage in the school, and you will be here more often than you're not here, especially if you're studying properly. Okay? The library has an infinite amount of resources. The associates at the library are very good at their jobs. If you need help, if you need to know which books maybe I should be reading, which books would help me in a certain assignment that I'm doing, they will assist you. Go there. Spend time there if you can. It is busy, and that's why spaces like this are great, because you can just go there, grab the books you need, and come here, sit down with other students, and set yourselves up for success, essentially, right? And you guys who are here right now, you're the thinnest layer of cream on the top of the milk, because you're showing, regardless of the reason why you're here, you're showing an initiative, right? And you should be dragging your friends here, kicking and screaming, okay? And you should be sitting with them, and they should be at events like this, right? Because together you guys will build a group, a close-knit group, and within 4 years, at the end of it, you will all be, as a group, more successful than you would have been individually. That's just the way that it is. It can't be done any other way. There are very few solely independent students that I know of who are very successful at the end of 4 years, who haven't built relationships, right? Also, if your professor does not know your first name by the 3rd week of a class, you're doomed. You should be constantly asking your professor the question that popped into your mind, right? They should have your face and your name down. So when you go visit them in their office once a month, twice a month, it will take 10 minutes out of your day, right? And if you wanted to put a monetary equivalent to that, it'd be like getting paid $100 an hour to sit there and talk to your professor and ask them a few questions. It's very important, because there's 1,000 people sitting in the chairs behind you. You will disappear into the masses, I promise you, if you do not show initiative. And you are here already, right? So that's also very important. Other than that, the club will help you, I'm sure. And other things on top of that will help you. If you have an interest, a specific economic interest, specific political interest, there are other clubs on campus who deal in politics. They have debates on economics. They have these types of things, all right? Go there, see them. It doesn't take much out of your day. It really doesn't. And to do that, to spend an extra half an hour on campus instead of leaving at 5 o'clock in the middle of rush hour is not going to hurt you, right? Find something to do. There are things to do. Find them and do them. Or just pop in again and visit one of your professors, see if they're in the office. It's integral to your education. It's not simply the books that are in front of you, right? It's also the people that are in front of you. So other than that, I'll be wandering around, and you can come badger me and harass me with anything you want. That's why I'm here. But I wish you guys the best of luck, and I hope you do very well in the years to come. Thanks.
Thanks, Raphael. Some very wise words. He does practice what he preaches as well. He's the only student I've ever known who will just saunter by my office when he was studying here for no apparent reason, just to say hello and chat about something. You know, not a problem, I got to do this, I got to get into this course. Use those resources. See which professors have a sort of open door policy and are willing to chat for 10 minutes. It happens very, very rarely that students do that. They come when they have a problem, they disappear again. He also sits in the front row of lectures, without mobile devices, and he asks questions. For my second year lecture, when he was doing it, probably 400 people enrolled. From the lecture itself, he was the only one I would have recognized to say hello to, knew his name. That is extremely important. Pisai.
Oh, yeah, I had class with him, like, he's always in the front, like, I noticed him when I'm not.
Yep.
So the vibe I see is, like, engaging in class.
Exactly. And likewise, yes, meeting even just one person in your tutorial, outside tutorial time, discussing the material, a group of 3 or 4 of you, is going to improve your grades no end. So please do that. What I suggest now, 11:45, is that we adjourn to these tables here and spread ourselves out a bit. So of the 3 faculty members here, Caroline, Sonia, and I will be at one table. Maybe the upper level students, at least 1, perhaps 2 per table. And we actually have the minority, actually the people for whom this event is, the new students, scatter yourselves as you like, probably 1 or 2 per table, but as you like. Is lunch in? It's arrived, so if you want to start grabbing lunch as well and just continue chatting about the program, whatever you want, over lunch, asking us questions, being prepared to answer questions from us. Let's do that at these slightly more intimate tables over there. Okay?